washing your hands is one of the most effective ways that you can prevent the transmission of viruses. It's really important, even washing your hands with soap and water. And it sounds like a simple thing to do, but actually lots of people don't know how to do it well. So the advice is that you should be washing your hands regularly. So that means after you get off public transport, when you get in from work, before you eat, as well as your standard hygiene practices. So washing your hands a little bit more often, and lots of good guidance has come out around how you should wash your hands. So washing your hands with soap and water for a minimum of 20 seconds when you do so.
The recommended length of time for washing your hands is 20 seconds. That may seem like a short time, but actually I think a lot of people don't necessarily do it for the full amount of time. So there are some techniques to make sure that you are washing your hands for the appropriate length, and that involves different songs or different lyrics to kind of help you reach the time.
The double happy birthday is a classic, but actually I really like some of the lyric generators online. That allows you to kind of create your own lyrics. And I think if it's personal to you, then you're more likely to remember.
Absolutely. So there's multiple points throughout the day that we'd recommend washing your hands. So firstly, before your commute to work and after your commute to work, particularly if you're using public transport. Obviously it's very hard not to touch different communal areas of the transport, so washing your hands when you get into work is important. Before eating, and then also standard hygiene practices, so obviously after going to the toilet.
Absolutely. So washing your hands is important for two reasons. Firstly, it makes your hands slippery and it allows you to get off germs that you might not be able to see. Secondly, it's particularly important for coronavirus because coronavirus is covered in a fatty envelope, and actually soap and water breaks that envelope apart and destroys the virus that way. So it's really important to make sure that you're covering underneath your fingernails, top and bottom of your palms, your thumbs, your wrists when you wash your hands.
You should remove any jewellery which you can remove before washing your hands. Understandably, germs, bits of soap and things could get stuck under the actual jewellery, so it's really important to do a thorough and proper job that you remove all jewellery, bracelets, anything you can that might get in the way of the soap and water.
The key thing when drying your hands is that your hands remain clean. You don't contaminate your hands again by drying them. So ideally a disposable paper towel that you can then put into a bin is great. Hand dryers might be fine as long as you don't touch anything around the dryers, and perhaps if it comes on automatically. So what you don't want to do is to recontaminate your hands during the drying process.
So I think it's really important after you wash your hands to dry them thoroughly. As Rebecca said previously, actually it's really important that you don't recontaminate your hands after you've washed them. And there is a potential habit for people to do that if they haven't dried their hands properly, to do that in clothing or in something else. So we'd recommend using disposable paper towels and making sure your hands are dried thoroughly so you're not tempted to dry them in something which might be unclean.
So ideally, you don't want to recontaminate your hands after washing. So blocking off the tap either with a paper towel in your hand or with your elbow is ideally the best thing to do.
So the ideal is to wash your hands with soap and water as opposed to alcohol hand gel. So soap and water is really good, particularly with viruses, because of the fatty content of it. It breaks down the wall of the virus and kills the virus essentially. However, using alcohol hand gel is much better than doing nothing. So if you're in a situation where you don't have access to soap and water, we recommend using alcohol hand gel if it's available, and then using soap and water when it's next available.
So as alcohol hand gel sells out really quickly, there are lots and lots of different alternatives, and I think that can be a bit confusing for people. It's really important for people to use a minimum of 60% alcohol content gel. That's the one that's been best proved as a good alternative to soap and water.
So the way you wash your hands with alcohol hand gel is the same mechanism through which you would wash your hands with soap and water. And the same principles apply. So for 20 seconds, rubbing your hands, making sure you get every area, including the nails, the wrists, and also the back of the hand. The only difference is we wouldn't recommend drying your hands after using alcohol hand gel, because part of the way it works is by drying naturally on your hands. So there's no need to dry your hands, but it's important not to rub them or recontaminate them after you've used alcohol hand gel.
So I think lots of people are suffering from dry hands at the moment as a result of more frequent washing or more frequent use of hand gel. I'm using a lot more moisturiser. I think it's important that if you're using a moisturiser, it's your own moisturiser. You're not sharing it with other people, and obviously that you're using new moisturisers that are less likely to be contaminated.